Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Grassi. It's a special edition. I'm very excited for tonight. I found out about the guest actually on a Facebook group that we both belong to. He posted a video with a great piece of art, and I just had to find out more. So I reached out to him. He's got a Kickstarter we're going to talk about. So let me just bring him on. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing of his work, and can't wait to talk to him. So let me introduce Ryan Shalafor.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan.
On.
Thank you for.
And you got the name right. Very few people do. That's awesome.
Yes. Well, I know we spoke, and I'm not gonna lie. I wrote it phonetically. So I am terrible with names, as anybody who's a regular viewer of my show will tell you. And I constantly apologize for names. So yeah. Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said in the intro, I saw your work. I don't remember what Facebook group it was, but it was an indie comic creator type of group. And you posted a video, I believe, of you inking. And I was like, this is really cool stuff. And I'm like, I had to reach out and find out more. So we're going to get into the book you created and are inking, which is called Tesla on Mars, and it's part one of I believe a 3-part series.
Right, we're doing a 3-part mini series for it.
Okay, cool. I've been on your Kickstarter page. I have looked through everything. The only thing I can't show, I'll tell you why, is the video. I wanted to play it. However, due to me using headsets, and I need them because I have to block out all the extra noise I have here. It won't play audio for some reason. I'm trying to see if I can get that fixed.
That's okay. I mean, that's a great excuse for someone to go and check out the Kickstarter, so they have to see the video if they want to see it.
And I like the video. It's short, but it's nice, and it's a great intro. So
thank you.
Let's get a little bit get to know you a little bit. Let's talk to me about your background. When did you get into comics? How old did you start reading them? What were some of your favorite, and who were your influences?
It was right around that 12 to 13-year-old age range, and it was the middle of the 90s comic boom, where you had publishers like Image that were coming out and bringing new faces to the comic scene. And all of a sudden, I've been aware of comics. I'd been interested in comics as an idea, but I didn't have a comic shop right near me, and I had no one near me that was selling them. And all of a sudden, they're in every gas station and every street corner shop. And so I just started grabbing them, and whatever I could get my hands on is what I was reading. And I still have all of the same ones that I first picked up at like my local convenience store.
Wow.
Once I started actually developing a taste for certain titles and certain artists, it was J. Scott Campbell was a major influence. Jim Lee, although I like his stuff even more now. I love how it's like developed, and now we've gotten to see the artist's progression. That's awesome. Yeah. And later on, I became a massive fan of Arthur Adams. I hadn't seen his stuff when I was younger, and I was like, how did I miss this? Yeah. And eventually, it just the interests bloomed and continued to expand. And then Frank Frazetta has been a huge influence in my work. A lot of the classics. But my interest in art wasn't actually just comics. It was a lot of oil painting and a lot of animation. So there's a lot that bleeds in there. I my background actually was animation before I got, like, even as a kid. Before I got into comics, it was learning more and more about animation. So, and I was lucky enough, I didn't get to work for any major studio, but I was lucky enough to do animation professionally for a little bit. So that was always nice. And I want to see the resurgence of 2D animation. Like, I want to have a full-blown 2D renaissance.
And I would love to see that too. Actually, why am I blanking on his name now? Is it Tom Bancroft? Has that studio? He's trying to kickstart Pencilish
now. Oh shoot, I'm gonna blank on it too.
Yeah, it's I think it's called Pencilish or something like that.
I keep seeing the ad with the little bouncing pencil.
And I think
pencil work. It's cool.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like mostly 2D stuff because everybody involved are like 2D animators. and that's what I love too. I mean, I animate digitally. I don't have the the
right.
the
It's
stuff in
so
my house to do it, the light boxes and stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, it's
So yeah,
fantastic.
when I'm doing a comic page, I'm trying now to like let those influences just come in naturally as they might want to.
Yeah.
And where I was like, I only started inking about 2 years ago because
Really?
I think of myself more as a line artist, but you have to ink your own work most of the time nowadays. So I needed to develop that skill, and it was beginning very methodical, very clean, trying to have a certain crispness to it. I mean, the whole point for me to do the digital inking is because I didn't have a good enough scanner to get a nice clean ink. And then now it's gradually gotten to this point where it's like, let's find some more interesting ways to do this, still being clean, but not as like overly picky.
Yeah. And
hopefully that gives a nice energy.
yeah, where and you ink in what program? Just out of curiosity.
I'm using Clip Studio Paint.
Okay, no, I love that software. I'm working on a project right now for someone else, and I'm doing Photoshop just because.
Yeah,
it's just, I have an issue in Clip Studio with creating the borders. So I just usually create them in Photoshop and then import the file in. But I don't know. I just kept going in Photoshop with this project. So
right.
But yeah, I tend to go to Clip Studio a lot too. I think it's a great program.
I love it. I was trying out that and Photoshop and comparing them when I first got started, and I liked just the default settings of Clip Studio right out of the gate for the inking. And you could definitely go in and tweak both programs to the nth degree and really dial it in. But I just wanted to jump in. So it was like, cool, this one feels nice. Let me just launch into it. And then I never went back to Photoshop. I was using Photoshop more for colors, though. For a while. Now I switched.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I was going to say, I find Clip Studio as an artist much more intuitive for an illustrator than Photoshop is. And I just want to quickly go to the comments, and Mike Wilkie's watching. I just want to say hi, Mike. He's a cartoonist, does single panel gag stuff. Funny guy. Have had him on my my storytelling Saturday streams, and really nice guy. So you grew up more in the 90s with comics at your intro, and so you were reading more Image, or were you doing like DC, Marvel? What were some of your go-to stuff? Do you remember?
Absolutely. I may not have remembered particularly well, but I just got around finally to doing some, like, can't see it in the shot here, and I can't quite turn the camera because of the cord, but I finally got to doing some nice framed issues. And I don't have anything valuable, but I have some things that were just like a big inspiration on me, or some art that I loved. And so I got a refresher last week of like what I'd been reading. And some of it I was like, really? I got that? But one of the big ones, I think the real break-in for me was Gen 13. And it was just largely the art style just pulling me in. I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
I loved it. So I just started buying them up. I think they were on issue like 12 or 13 when I found them, and it was like, I'm just gonna get all of these and hoard this. And then another major one was the Witchblade series. I have one older brother. He's also an artist, and he had Witchblade #1 that he got bagged and boarded and gifted to me. It wasn't his original intent. He had just seen it in a shop somewhere and went, that's awesome. And then like a year or two later, I was getting big into comics. And he was like, you'll like this. Check this out. And he was right. And then I started, same thing. I just started following the series. Those were some really big influences.
Yeah. Witchblade was actually one of the few non-DC books. I read a lot of DC in the 90s. And Witchblade was one of the few non-DC I'd pick up. It was great book.
It was. Spider-Man too, though. I was addicted to Spider-Man just as much.
I'm more of a Romita Senior fan than a Junior fan, but I love Junior's run on it back in the 90s. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I was a big Spidey fan too. That's Marvel I didn't buy much. I've always been more of a DC guy than Marvel, but there were very few Marvel I'd pick up. Spidey was always one of them.
Yeah. I didn't deliberately gravitate one way or another. I would let the cover art often pull me in the direction of like what's catching my eye, what's gonna be a series that looks interesting to me. And it's definitely one of those examples of using the cover to judge the book, but in the visual medium. So I'm hoping I get a pass on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how a lot of us picked up books, you know, in those, and to this day too. When I'm in my local shop and I see something that interests me, it's on the cover before I even pick up the book. I will ask my friends who work there and be like, what's good on the shelves right now?
Right.
And then they'll direct me to something. And if the cover doesn't look interesting, I rarely pick it up, to be honest.
No, I completely get that. I've had a couple instances where I'll see something from a distance and I'll have to go check it out. And then, maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not, but I like the fact that, hey, they've been able to grab my attention. This is at least worth taking a look.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. So when did you start drawing comics?
I first tried my first effort or first successful drawing comics.
How about both? Tell us your first attempt.
First attempt was like shortly after finding the medium and really getting into it. So I remember sitting in an 8th grade class when I definitely should have been paying attention to something else. There are those middle schoolers being troublesome. And I was drawing out this comic story and just trying to do something with it, but I didn't make it 2 pages, and it was pretty rough. And I realized, I don't know what the story is going to be, and that halted me. It was like, oh, cool, I can draw a little bit, and I was proud of where the drawings were going, but oh man, I didn't know what to do with what to write.
Yeah.
So that stalled that out, and I kind of lost interest in doing comics for a long time because I thought, well, that didn't work. I tried it once, didn't work.
Yeah.
And then at some point 5 or 6 years ago, I started swinging back around to it, and I just thought, I can do this. This would be fun. I need to switch things up a little bit. I need to find something for an artistic expression. Let me try this again. And I just did a little bit. I put it out there into the world, got a little bit of a cool reception, but there were a few people who were like, that's nicely drawn. Nice, cool. And that's all I needed to hear. And that was enough for me to keep going with it. And then gradually I just thought, I got to do this more. And this year we launched the studio to make it official, to really do it full time.
And that's Obscura Comics, which is scrolling, by the way, down the bottom, you guys. So if you, when the show's over, go on to Instagram and follow them. I started following them, was it earlier today? And I love what you got posted already.
Thanks.
It's this book, Tesla on Mars, which I'm looking at the image on the Kickstarter page right now. And it looks, not only does it looks fun. And that's what's important to me in the comics that I read, is what I want it to be fun. So tell us about, before we get into the Kickstarter, tell us how you came up with the idea, when did you start working on it?
The idea first came up halfway as a joke while I was actually working with my brother. He runs a sculpture studio.
Oh, cool.
And I was working with him at the time, gargoyles and grotesques, and we were just painting up pieces. We'd already done the casting for the day, and we were finishing them up. And when we were doing that, we would just have some music playing in the background, usually Pink Floyd, and then just joke about everything and nothing and shoot the breeze and throw out these little skit ideas and sketch comedy kind of things. And we got talking about Tesla, just because I've always been fascinated with him as a person and as an inventor. And we just started joking about, what if we could have Tesla as the hero of a story idea, of a graphic novel or of a comic or of whatever. And David Bowie came on and starts singing, and then we hear Spiders of Mars, and I go, oh God, that's it. We have to have Tesla go to Mars. That's the idea in my head. And it was meant to be a little on the more fun side, but also a little almost like a 1950s throwback in terms of the old science fiction films, and not too serious, still like taking itself seriously enough that it's not taking you for a ride, but nothing like heavy. And then we just developed it.
Yeah, I gotta stop you right there. Just when you said that it was a throwback to like the 50s, paying homage to stuff like that, the sci-fi show, that is like one of my passions.
No kidding.
I love it. I don't know if you saw on any of my accounts, but I posted a character called Dax Photon who's coming out later this hopefully this summer, if not at the fall the latest. But it's a web comic I'm starting. And I had the idea for years. A friend of mine wrote it. I'm getting ready to illustrate in the next couple of weeks. And that's all it is. It's a comedy. Well, I don't want to call it comedy, but humor style illustration.
I missed it. Now I'm going to check it out, though.
You'll have to check it out. But yeah, it's a couple of, I think I have a picture of like his team and a picture of him. But yeah, it's a very kind of Hanna-Barbera style superhero that pays tribute to all the old like Buck Rogers comics, Flash Gordon, like all those things that I loved, and all the stuff you're just mentioning. You know,
I was definitely thinking the same thing. I kind of wanted to see a Flash Gordon like reminiscence with this.
Yeah.
As we developed it, and as I got the art team together, it did actually take a slightly different direction than that original thought. I mean, you can see like I've got the poster behind me, the cover / poster. And it doesn't have that same 50s movie poster vibe that I was originally planning, because it got a little bit more, we started falling in love with the character that we had created. Not, you know, obviously this is not Tesla of history. Yeah. And as that happened, we were like, we gotta really give this like some respect and make this fun, but also awesome. And just like ground it and give it. It ended up with a little more grit. It almost surpassed my expectations of like what could be reached with it. So it's got its footing there, and then kind of stepped somewhere new. Although I guess that's going to happen if you're bringing something from history to now.
Yeah.
But not too much. I'm trying to keep it still there a little bit.
You know, things change, stories change. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah. I've actually loved that side of it. I mean, I wanted the input from Paul is the name of the penciler on the project. I wanted his input in the designs and things just as much as I'm giving him the scripts. And I'm like, let's work on this together and find something that you also love. And it brought a new vision to it, something that I thought elevated it even beyond what I'd been picturing.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I just want to go to the comments real quick. Someone watching on Twitch says, "What is this?" I guess if this is your first time watching, I'm Michael Gracia. This is Get in Tune. I talk with independent comic creators and other creators, or usually all indie stuff. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you're still watching, and hope you continue to watch. But yeah, no, this sounds really great. Now, when did you start putting this into production? Like, how long ago was the idea?
Yeah, that was the second part. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. I must say the idea now was like 2 years ago. And then it just sat and fermented in my imagination for a while. Sometime over the summer, I sat down and said, okay, it's time to start the script. And I decided to launch Obscurus Comics. It's a project that me and my girlfriend put together and said, we're going to make a studio. We're going to pursue this. She'll handle most of the business. I'll handle most of the art, and we'll get this rolling, because it was mid-quarantine and we didn't have anything else going on. Yeah. So I said, okay, cool. And I started putting the idea down on, well, not paper, but actually typing it. And then we started passing the story back and forth together, and ended up co-writing the script. I don't think that anything actually made its way onto Paul's desk to say, here, let's take this and start drawing until I think it was August.
Okay.
And then it was a little bit of a slow go because I've been fronting the production money for it. So until now, so I could kind of go like, let's do page 13 this week. And then next week it'd be, what can we do now? And then it was very slow going for a little while.
Yeah.
But he stuck with it.
That's great. I mean, the work looks great. Why don't I pull up the Kickstarter? Let me share my screen and pull up the Kickstarter.
Cool.
And share screen, and this one here, Kickstarter. All right, so here we are looking at Tesla. Sorry, I don't know why I said Tesla.
I make that typo every day I write about this. I'm constantly like, nope, try again.
So Tesla on Mars, Part 1. This is going to be a 3-part series. And you're almost at your goal already, which is great. It's only been on, what? This is a week now.
Yeah, this is a week. I'm blown away.
Yeah,
I can't believe that it's already come that far and that we're that close. Like the support has been beyond anything I expected.
Yeah, well, I don't know who's backing you, but I mean, I'm assuming where you post on social media, you're going to a lot of like indie creators and stuff, and they're great about supporting each other. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love.
It really is.
I love indie comics, and you know, I don't really read mainstream these days personally. And when I go to the comic shop, it's always what looks good in the indie rack. I'm just not into the mainstream stuff, the stories at all. I feel like they're, a lot of the times they rehash what we read when we were younger, just put a different twist on it, and I don't think they're usually as good. So I tend to read more indie stuff, and I've been in the indie comic scene since 1997. Yeah, and I have met tons and tons of people, and the indies are just so great. It's just a great community. Everybody really, really
seems it
is just fantastic together. So let me just read this. The story: working in secret, the eccentric genius Nikola Tesla has built a machine that can transport him through time and space in an instant. Traveling to Mars in search of civilization, Tesla is confronted with unexpected mysteries, a shadow secret society, and terrors from outer space. All right. Well, I'm hooked already. This is fantastic. I was going to ask you to give me a little bit more of a pitch, but right there is the pitch.
That is the whole pitch. That's my elevator pitch.
It is great. And I'm looking at the design. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Time Machine in how he's sitting and controlling. Was that any influence in it?
Absolutely. Before I was even into comics, oh my God, I completely forgot about one thing that's a major influence in terms of like comics. And it comes from exactly things like that. There's the old comic, like the little, I have some, there are these.
Hold on, I'm going to give you the full screen for a second.
Yeah.
Just let me find my mount. There you go.
There are these. So I would say that the Time Machine was an influence on me.
That was great. I had there was something called it was called like Classic Illustrated or Illustrated Classics or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if those are them.
These are them. These are the I forgot the name of it, but they're just illustrated from Pendulum Press.
Yeah.
There were these fantastic
hold on, I'm going to give you the screen again.
More comic than illustration.
Yeah.
It's sort of kind of bridged the gap. And I had these kicking around here the other day because I was thinking about framing up a couple of them and putting them on the wall. And I just haven't put these back on my bookshelf yet.
Yeah, I got to say, I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that way.
Yeah. And
I might have read The Time Machine that way, too.
I've got 20,000 Leagues over on my bookcase and a handful of others.
That's one of my favorite stories. I think I've seen every interpretation of a movie that they've made on it. I love that stuff. Can I just say I love that you have the animator survival kit right behind you.
Yeah.
Right there.
I won't frame that one. I need it too often.
Yeah. That's just a fantastic book. That's like anybody who wants to get into animation, that's the Bible you need right there.
It is right there. I'll take oaths on that.
Yeah.
Regarding the Time Machine and H.G. Wells' influence on this story, 100%. There's a big influence to it there, and I will be giving away a little bit about the story if I say too much, but I'm being a new indie creator. I don't know how much of the story I should give out.
Well, what I will say is don't give out anything that will spoil, like that will be a good part that we'd want to read and be surprised about.
Fair enough. In that case, I can't say anything else about the entire book. There's definitely H.G. Wells was a massive influence.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Pretty much when I was approaching the idea of Victorian steampunk, it's because the imagery comes from that early science fiction work. That to me was like that was their futurism almost.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring that into these illustrations, and when I was deciding which artists to go with, because that was a long search before deciding to go with Paul. He was the first obvious choice, but I wanted to really see who was available. I should have just jumped sooner. What finally made me decide to go with him was that he just had this way of bringing the steampunk aesthetic together in a very like clean, cohesive kind of way. I didn't feel like things were strapped on arbitrarily. Like in some of the ship panel designs, you can go in and you can see the crates that are stacked up for storage, and you can see the straps that hold everything. Every detail was pretty much dropped in with placement in mind. And at one point I asked him about like part of the ship design that he just kind of went with and created on his own. I was like, what's this fiddly bit over here? And he gave me a whole systems breakdown on how that interacted with other parts and how he'd thought it through. And it was really like, okay, I'm going to make sure I ink that right then.
That's great. I mean, I'm kind of looking at this image right here of the ship. I like what you mentioned, the old like Flash Gordon and stuff. I can get that feel just from the second panel right here.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I don't know if I'm looking at the right angle here or what angle I'm seeing, but it kind of is a spherical shape to it.
Absolutely.
And it gives me all these ideas in my head of how this device works.
Like, what is that idea that's coming through?
I'm feeling like the ship spins on the outside. They're in between those little like the what do you want to call them? Those metal grates around it.
Yep.
I feel like it's spinning around in there, but it's staying still inside for him.
That's exactly how they did it with the Time Machine when they made the latest film adaptation.
Yes. And let me just interrupt there. By the way, you guys, speaking of that movie, a few weeks ago, I had Arnie Leibovitz on, who was the producer of that film, who directed and produced Puppet Tunes about George Powell, the animator who did the Puppet Tunes back in the 30s. When you're done with this video, go on my YouTube or Facebook or wherever and check that video out. I'm sorry, just since that came up, I'm
checking that one out too. That sounds awesome.
It was a fun one. But I'm sorry, continue.
So I hate to say it, but it doesn't spin.
It doesn't spin. It's just the look I get from. Okay.
It does. I wanted to. I was thinking, how can we root this in make it our steampunk that's ours, something that's unique and new. And I thought, well, I can go back and retool some ideas from the actual Victorian tech and take that and directly steampunkify it. So what we used for the ship design is essentially a modified bathysphere for their underwater exploration, minimal though it was. And so that locked us into a round shape because that's what you could make with the best protections from pressure, or at least that's my understanding of it. I am far from solid on my engineering when it comes to a bathysphere.
Well, you explained it better than I could probably. I mean, it's
if I got it right.
you got it right. Let's check out some of your rewards here. So
Yep.
for $10, you get a digital download in both English and Spanish. Your name in the book as a printer. I printed in the book's credits. When you started this, let me, because I know you have it in English and Spanish. Was
Yep.
that something you wanted to do, or is that something that just kind of came up that you're like, oh, let's transfer it into 2 languages?
It came up along the way because of the team working on it. With my girlfriend Ashley Mills and I being co-writers on it, we're both speaking English, and with the colorist Paul, the penciler Paul and the colorist Letty, they are both native Spanish speakers, and when I'm working with Paul, we have to go through a translator app because he doesn't speak any English and I don't speak any Spanish. So it gradually became this idea of like, maybe we should also do the book in Spanish. I would love to be able to do it printed that way too, but I found that the printers, you're printing a whole new book at that point. So it was going to be a little bit of a hard sell. But I asked Letty, I said, how would you feel about potentially translating this and doing a Spanish copy? And I asked her that after I'd been thinking about it a little already. And then I saw someone's comment on her Facebook posts when she was promoting it, asking for a Spanish copy. And it was like, yeah, why can't we make that happen? She's beautifully fluent in both languages. So free translator, I guess. And why not take advantage of it?
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you got it. I don't think about transferring my stuff into other languages because I only know English. And
we're stuck in that.
Yeah, and I think it's great because you open it up to a wider audience that way. And with so many, Spanish speaking countries, it becomes an international sale now.
Right.
For you.
And I hope that the idea of Tesla on Mars is something that can just transcend culture to that point. Because I really think about a story like this. It's using Tesla as a character because why not? It's just a fun idea.
Yeah.
But I really think of all of science fiction as just different ways of exploring and in your imagination. And it's expression of that human need to explore. And that's something that transcends all languages.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll click. And if not, at least Letty will get a copy in Spanish that she can own and love. If no one else does, it'll still be worth it.
That's fantastic. Going up to $15, you get the physical trade paperback copy of the comic, the digital download in your name. So everything kind of stays the same, except you're just adding a little extra per. So I'm sorry, you had set up there, what was it, a 22-page comic or?
Yes.
Okay. So in 3 parts, all of them going to be 22 pages, and then you'll have,
what I'm hoping to do is the second one will also be 22 pages. And then if I need to run on longer for the third, because the third script is not actually finished on paper yet. I have all the ideas in my head, but I'm leaving that open for now because if we get a big enough response, I would love to drag that out to 36 pages.
Okay. All right.
And then there's the longer term ambition to take the whole thing, collect it all back together and reprint it in the graphic novel form.
Yeah.
So I love those collections.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I buy a lot of trades these days, and it's just easier. I don't have a lot of room in my studio here. I'm honestly overflowing with books. My wife keeps telling me no more books in the house. and my birthday just passed. She's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Some books." Yeah. She's like, buy what you want, and I'll, those will be your birthday gifts. So I bought myself some comic strip collection stuff, but
they're fun. And I like the idea of the graphic novel a lot.
Yeah,
you can sit down with it and really just delve, but it also fits on my bookcase more easily.
Exactly. I have a whole bookcase, just not bookcase, but one shelf completely. I can't fit any more on. It's piled to the top. I love it though. I pull them off every couple of days and just flip through. I'll read 10 pages of one, 10 pages of another. It's just, I'm in the mood for this today. So let's see, $25. You get a signed copy, and You get a bonus PDF of the script, an original sketch. So that's awesome. It's like it's almost like a sketchbook or workbook or something that goes along.
Absolutely.
With it.
My idea behind that reward was essentially, this is the thing that I would want if I were stumbling on this project, because I love seeing the process and behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Animation, I especially love that when you can kind of like pick the bones apart and really see how that structure is there.
Yeah.
A lot of the artists that I've loved working from are the ones that show the most in their understructures and everything like that.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's just a great reward to have. So $30, you get 2 copies. One of them signed. So you have the collector copy that you back and board, and then you got your reading copy.
Exactly.
And then the rest are the same. In this one, you get sticker 1 for $35, and that's the only looks like the only added. In this one, for $45, you get both stickers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then for $65, you get an 11x17 poster in addition to everything.
Right, which is the one behind me on the wall. Doesn't come with the frame, huh?
Yeah. And these are the stickers. They are fantastic.
They're pulled straight from the art in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought, these are panels that are kind of fun to just be freestanding. Let's pull these right out.
Yeah, man, I'm loving this. I'm not going to ask any questions about who's in the suit. I don't want any spoilers. But like I don't want to know if that's Tesla exploring something or if that's somebody coming for him. I want to wait till because I'm not going to lie, this is something I will be donating to.
Oh, very cool.
I'm thinking of when I can afford to, I always support indie creators. I'm just looking at that there. It's just sometimes I don't always have the cash to do that. And this though, I just don't know what level I want. There's so many good stuff.
You've got time to figure it out, which is great. We've got another 23 days.
Wow. And you're going to hit the way this is going, you'll hit within the next I'm going to guess within the next 4 or 5 days you're going to hit your goal.
I hope so. I'm pretty confident where things are going, but I'm aware of that trough, that potential dip in the middle.
Yeah, it happens, but I've had lots of friends run Kickstarters. I've never done it, but all my friends, they always tell me it's in the beginning and at the end where all the sales come in.
Yeah. So. I did some heavy research, and what I found was a lot of people expect that curve, and that curve is largely a product of the marketing campaign gets a stronger push at the end, so it brings it back up. So I'm going to try to just keep letting people know about it as much as I can the whole way through, and maybe we can flatten the curve a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can do. Social media is just keep pushing it out, throwing it out there.
I love the page you pulled up here because, like, I was talking about the process stuff. That's why I wanted to show that. I was like, I think it's just I like the peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, and this is Paul. This is you. And I'm sorry, would you say the letter colorist's name was?
Letitia.
Letitia. Okay.
But I did a cheat on this one because she wasn't free and I needed to get this done in a day. So I actually threw the colors down on that one, and then she'll take that and fix it and make the rest of the page beautiful.
Yeah, well, it looks great. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I mean,
I had fun with it. It took too much time on it, but I had fun with it.
And this was all inked digitally in Clip Studio, you're saying?
Yeah. Wow. Paul does all of his work on paper. It's all just pencil on paper. And he uses just a digital camera, snaps a couple shots, and then stitches it back together in Photoshop. And then I pull into Clip Studio and I do all the inking there.
Okay.
And for the frames, there's just the rectangle tool. That's all.
Yeah. I just have issues lining up the sizes I need. When I'm building it. That's why, like, I'm more comfortable in Photoshop with the rulers.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just set this up, drag out a box, put out my stroke on how thick I want it to be, and then I'm like, okay, let's export it into. And I already create everything on separate layers, so every panel is already on its own layer.
Yeah.
And I just go in and work that way. Let's meet the creative team, huh?
Yeah. Well, hi.
So, and H.G. Wells and Jules Verne to be the literary influences which planted the seeds of the inspiration of Tesla on Mars. So, yeah, I mean, I get that looking at your work. You know, you didn't even have to tell me those were your influences. I got
Right,
that looking
right.
at what you do. Now, Ashley Mills, that's your girlfriend.
Yep.
So she's kind of handling more of the business end.
She's handling the business end and most of the social media stuff. That's if I'm sitting there doing all the artwork, I have a hard time bringing myself to go, okay, now I have to write for, a press release. I'm like, I can do it. I will do it.
Yeah.
But she has made this possible by taking that on.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm a one man operation. I do have friends I work with on occasion, but for the most part, I write, I draw, I do it all. And then, but there are days, literally days, that I don't draw because I'm working on social media. I'm designing the ads that I know need to go out in a week or whatever, and it's like
exactly.
And I do it because no one else is going to do it but me. But it's nice to have someone who can help with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so great over there. So this is Paul. How do you say his last name? Ikeda. Okay. He's a longtime fan of classic sci. So you got the perfect team here already.
Absolutely. I didn't even know how much of a sci-fi buff he was before we actually launched into the project.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew he liked comics.
Yeah.
And then he's when he saw that I was doing this, he basically was just throwing himself at it like, I have to have this project. This isn't just because I needed a gig. I have to do this. You have to hire me. I'm the guy. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And he was right.
No, it's great. The work is beautiful. I mean, you two balance each other very well. So
thank you. That has been, I feel his work has made me a stronger inker.
Yeah.
Because I find like I see now the problem solving that has to be done and like from a new way.
Mm-hmm.
It's more fun too.
That's great. And then Letitia, is that Morgado?
Yep.
Rodriguez. Okay, good.
Yep.
So she's the colorist, and I'm just reading her thing here. Freelance illustrator and colorist. Letty pulls out all the stops with her lush, vibrant colors. Her love of Victorian steampunk aesthetic is clearly visible in her work, with each page finished and strengthened by her choices in color palette and technique. So you said she didn't color that, but she colored these pieces of
everything else that you're seeing for the finished work. I got my one little sneak in was the cityscape. Yeah. And it's a one narrow panel at the top of a page.
Mm-hmm. I'm just it's the reason why I'm saying this because I've mentioned this before on my streams. I'm actually colorblind, what they call shade blind. I see colors, but when they start blending together, I have trouble telling them apart.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of artists who will use will mute colors or they'll use them brightly, but they're using too many bright colors that they clash. She seems to balance it very well for me, for my eyes, the way I'm seeing it.
Likewise, also colorblind. So as I'm looking at stuff, it's the same story. I actually, when I'm looking over a page to make sure that everything feels right, not just visually, I'll go through the color picker and make sure that we're falling into like the right families of color just based on the theory so that I know that everything lines up. I can't do it any other way.
Yeah, when I do a lot of calling my wife in my studio and does this color work? Does this color work? And she goes, do you want it to be green? I said, no, I thought I was picking gray. And it's like,
yeah.
So it's stuff like that. But yeah, no,
I was trying to be an oil painter before I got big into comics, and I was doing okay with it because I had the draftsmanship. Mm-hmm. But one of my first big experiments in oil painting, the next day in different lighting, I was like, oh, she's green. She's not supposed to be green. Because the lighting shift, that sometimes I can see it a little better.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've never really worked with oils. I've always had trouble. I used to do a lot of watercolor and some acrylic.
Yeah.
And I remember taking a class, and I was terrible at acrylics at this time, and it was my college class,
Yeah.
and my teacher just is like, "Thank God you're not an art major." And I'm like, "Excuse me, no, I am. I don't know how to paint." And I mean, it's a whole other story I can go into about how I got into an argument with her.
Oh no.
And well, I pulled out my portfolio of like design work and illustration work I did, and I just threw it at her, and I was like, "Here, look, this was $500 piece. This was this," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm an actual artist." And then she started looking at my work and being like, "You actually have the best composition in class. You just don't know how to paint." And I'm like,
There you
"Okay,
go.
well," I'm like, "Thank you, but yeah, maybe you could teach me. That's what I'm here for." And
No,
I still had to learn on my own. It wasn't a good experience, but there's a lot more in depth. That's another story to tell. But yeah, it wasn't, and it's funny because I taught college, and it's teachers like that who make me the type of teacher I am, to make sure I don't do crap like that to students. I would never want a student to experience things like that.
Yeah, I could see how that would leave a sour taste and make them take a different direction.
Yeah, it's not always fun, but the difference is I always felt with my students. I would tell them, "Hey, look, you need improvement." I would never tell them that they're terrible.
Right.
You need improvement. It's the way you go about it. But I just love looking at everything here. I love the steampunk feel, the Victorian looks, the colors that Letty chose. I mean, this is great stuff. Even if she didn't color this, I'm just saying this pie chart. I just love the way it's broken apart and cut up. It's I know this is explaining how you're spending the money, but I'm just saying
it's important too, though. I like the pie chart, and largely because it really shows this is the bare bones. This is the fundings mostly for the art team. That for me was important.
Yeah, and that is a hard thing to do. I mean, I have my writer. I haven't paid him anything. He hasn't even told me if he wants anything, but I know I will eventually pay him. I'm just going to be like, when you're done with the story, everything, I just got to get the cash together, and I'm going to give him a fair price for everything he did for writing for me.
Oh, of course,
because he did a great job, and like I said, I'm still waiting on the last 10 pages I've said on another stream before, but I recently found out certain things got in the way of him finishing, and I'm like, I got enough to get started anyway. So, but yeah, it's going to be like a 52 or 56 page, I forget what he said he wrote, story, and I'm like, okay, we got a webcomic that's going to be great. But
do it, yeah, they'll keep you going.
Oh yeah, totally. But yeah, he did a fantastic job. And if I was to put a Kickstarter to put this together, even if I've already paid him for the story, I would throw more cash at him on that. It's just he did such a fantastic job, and I can see the team that you're working with is doing such a good job that I'm glad to see half of it going to the production team. They it's I know you're inking on it too, but like I always said, as someone who writes, I can write a story in 20 minutes, but that's going to take me 6 months to draw, and the amount of time that artists put in, and colorists and all these other inkers and whatever you want to call it, they just it's a lot of hard work, and they really deserve
it really is
much.
I think I'm the slowest cog in the machine, though. I think mine take longer than anything else being done. I'm not even trying to be fast, and I know I can't.
Well, inking is a tough thing. I've always inked, and this might be my animation background. Very simple, clean line. It almost like if you saw it with no color, you'd be like, "Oh, that's great for a coloring book." I don't do anything fancy. Like looking at, not that what you're doing is super fancy, but my lines and my blacks would never be this clean, in the sense of size wise.
Right.
It's going to look like it's from an animated cartoon.
It's a great style, though. I actually love that look.
Thank you.
I mean, they're different energies for different things.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I look at this and I'm like, damn, I wish I can do this. I wish I had the steadiness of hand. And I know you're probably using the line tool a lot.
Only every once in a while. I actually try to avoid it because I do want that slight variation.
Yeah.
I'll take a ruler and put it right on my tablet and just draw along the edge of it.
Really?
Just as
I've never thought of that.
I didn't think of it either. I can't take credit. I saw someone else in a video using one of those like the old spinny things. Like you'd put you'd put your pencil down, and it was like a gyroscopic thing that would make these design patterns.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah,
I saw someone doing that. I was like, oh my, that's okay. That's a great idea. And then I thought, well, they can do that. I can use a ruler.
And I literally have 5 rulers sitting in a cup at my drawing table next to me, and I'm like, I've never thought about taking it out and putting it on my Cintiq.
It works.
Well, I'm gonna have to try it out. I got a new thing to do.
I wanted to do that instead of the line tool, because then you do get, well, I've got old wooden rulers, so they're not perfect, and they get a little blip here or there, or as my pressure changes just slightly, you'll get a little bit of a variation. It just made it less clean, and I actually wanted that because I want that little bit of antiquing even in the ink work, just to have it feel like this is a little bit older, a little less perfect.
Yeah, but I also like that too. I mean, when I ink, one of the reasons I don't use the line tool often is because I want the little bumps and jaggedness in my work. And excuse me. I'm
still also kind of finding my inking style as I go along, so everything's an experiment.
Yeah, no, I consider myself more of a penciler than an inker. I ink out of necessity than anything. But so that's why I say I have a simple like coloring book or animation look to it, but I love looking at this stuff and seeing the extras that are just on here.
Wow. We try to go rich with it. And the pages you're seeing now are some of the first that Paul did, and the first that as a team we did. That's why they're up here. And I had us jump around in the book a little bit so that it isn't just the first couple pages. But, these first 2 that you're looking at, though, really are the first pages in the book. Only thing that's missing is the text. And when I first saw this shot that you're on right there, I was like, okay, we've got something. This is going to work. Yeah. And it was like, okay, reinvigorated on a project I was already excited about.
Yeah, this is gorgeous stuff. You know, I don't want to say it this way, but this is kind of like, this is how I feel like a steampunk Tony Stark would look.
I like,
okay. It's just I didn't want this to be like an insult, but like if this was like steampunk Iron Man, it's like this is how I see him, and it's the mustache that's doing it for me.
Oh yeah.
It's that classic Tony Stark look, but I mean, I also know Tesla had a mustache, so
we went through a couple of different design iterations, just pencil sketches and pushing the design before finally settling here, because it can't be the real historical figure. We're not trying to do a portrait.
Yeah, exactly.
You needed to have that same kind of energy, that same vibe off of them. And somewhere kicking around on my somewhat messy files of all the pencil sketches and all the pencil drawings for the pages in this, there's just one page of the various different approaches to how to find his look to get like the right structure.
And you said that's in the reward there, that
that's going to be in there.
Well, I now know I need to
too. It was almost James Bond in space.
Well, now because I want to see that, I now know I'm starting a minimum at a $25 goal for you. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to go higher, but definitely 25 you got me for. I'll let you know that right now.
Look at those shiny stickers. My brother's getting the stickers. He's like, just give me the stickers.
Yeah, the stickers are nice. I like that. I love the, down here, I love this design, this concept. I mean,
I'm really glad, because that was actually kind of an accident. It was just going to be just the spaceman figure, no spoilers, and somebody on one of the Facebook groups made the very smart observation that a bit of merchandise without the branding on it didn't mean anything once it was divorced from the campaign, and you could see that a year from now and have no idea what they're looking at. So I was like, oh shoot, you're right. We got to have that on there.
I will say this: if I was looking at this and I was like 10 years old, this is something I'd want action figures of. I'm gonna let you know that.
I love that idea. I've thought about that because
yeah,
I was saying my brother's he runs a sculpture studio. Not that kind of sculpture, but it had me thinking in 3D as well. That'd be just really fun.
Yeah. Well, you make casts with him. You can cast a figure, right?
It'd be a bit of a week to get everything started. My casting was with existing molds.
Okay.
Making the molds is an art form unto itself.
I used to work in puppetry for a while, and I used to sculpt out of clay.
Yeah.
And we'd make plaster molds out of the clay. So it would be you sculpt whatever it is, and then you're putting like petroleum jelly all over it so it doesn't stick.
Right.
And then you mold one half, let that dry, put in the copper pieces, make some indentations so that we can get the little registration marks.
Yeah, the registration.
Yeah, get it in there, and then when it was pull it apart, clean it up, clean the mold, and then whatever we use to fill it with. And so I used to do a lot of, not a lot of it, but I've done some casting and mold making in the past.
Yeah.
Very tiring.
Really cool. It is. Yeah. It's more work than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah. If I didn't have my closet blocked, I have a ventriloquist puppet I made out of like a Frankenstein head. Which I gotta. It's a cute cartoony Frankenstein head. I just got to go in and fix one of the mechanics in there, and I just haven't had the chance to.
Yeah.
But, like one of the strings or the springs, I forget. Either the string got loose or the spring got loose at the.
Have that come out at some point for a video.
Definitely one day. I'll pull it out. But yeah, no, it's cool stuff. I actually, when was it? I moved into this place 26. I think I got rid of the mold in 2016. It was in our storage unit. I built it in 2004 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm never going to make another mold of this. I was keeping it for sentimental value. And I'm like, I just toss it. But it was heavy. It was great, though. I love that stuff. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get back to you. That's what we're here for, is you. And
we're here for the comic. I'm just helping promote it.
Well, the comic looks like it's going to be fantastic. I definitely am going to be donating a minimum of 25 because I need that behind the scenes stuff. I really do.
It's my favorite part of like the rewards to throw that in. I'm happy we're doing it.
That's great. I just love the cover to issue 1. It's like I said, it feels Time Machine-ish, and I think that might be just between the controls and all the cogs you got going on in the background there.
There's definitely like some reminiscence there, but I'm happy with that because I think it's kind of a great callback.
Let me ask, are you trying to get this into any stores or?
We haven't yet. This is going to be in the mock-ups that we did in the rewards. We don't actually have a printed issue yet because actually the artwork is still in production. We're still working on it, so we don't have the printed book yet. When we do, I'll be hoping that we can do that. I don't have any experience yet with distribution of actual comics. So I have no idea what hurdles or challenges that might involve beyond getting them printed and showing up with a box. That'll be the next step.
Yeah, because I see this. I already see this on a shelf. I mean that I know if I saw this on a shelf, I'd be walking to it. It's just gorgeous.
One of the things I wanted to do. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to do, I didn't because of the current like reasonable restrictions of like going and doing something in a public space for no real reason. I fantasized about taking that, putting it in a bag and just walking into my local comic shop, putting it on the shelf along with everything else and just stepping back to see how it did in the spread of the art. Just, does this work? What's the test? But I had to do it just in imagination instead of actually going and bothering the people in the shop.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's wow. I'm sorry. I'm just amazed. I'm sitting here just staring at this work and I'm just blown away by it.
wanted something that was going to rival anything else you could find in terms of the artwork, and just look like, here it is. Here, we've been here the whole time. Didn't you know?
Yeah, it looks. This looks like it. You know, you've been around for forever doing this type of stuff. You know.
That's the goal. We can. That's the fake it till you make it thing.
I was just about to say say that. That is great. Whoops! I hate when my mouse does that there.
Yeah.
So
I was hoping to do alternate covers, but with the time involved, I was like, let's just get this going. Let's just make this happen.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did, because I can't imagine. I have a hard time imagining a better cover for it. I was super pleased with it.
Yeah. Well, if you come up with the idea when you do your second Kickstarter for part 2, maybe you'll offer a first cover in there, new cover.
I've thought about that. The first reprint.
Yeah.
That would be that might be something to write down. I'm going to put that down in the pad.
Oh, yeah. Well, as long as I can give you ideas, that's what I'm here for.
Perfect. And that's the one. That's the golden ticket.
Yeah, man. This is going to be great. I'm going to wrap up in a moment, and I'm going to ask you to just hang out backstage when I put you backstage in a moment. But I just got to say, before I say what I have to say, is there anything you'd like to say or talk about that we didn't talk about?
We covered a lot of ground. That was actually awesome. Anything else? I just want to say thank you again to everybody who's already contributed, because we're like, I think it's 85 or 86% the way there after 1 week. I have no concerns at this point that we are going to get funded. So I've actually already started putting together the rest of the artwork. I was going to wait on it originally until I knew for sure. Now I'm like, nope, okay, pushing forward on the inks, pushing forward on the colors, and getting Paul ready to start on issue 2, because just the response has been amazing. The community response, like you were saying earlier, I had no idea that the indie comics scene existed as it does, and it's just like amazed me. It's incredible how supportive people have been and just how cool it is, and I'm glad to have found it, and now I'm glad to be able to contribute.
And I'm glad you're here, part of it. I just got to say, and I say this a lot, thank you for not just coming on, but being a creator, bringing ideas to life that can entertain people, make them escape their whatever for a little bit. If it takes them 10 minutes to read the comic, an hour to read the comic, you took them out and just are giving them a fun experience. So
hopefully that can be the case for Tesla on Mars. That would be a joy, just to know that it's something people can pick up and fly into it and just enjoy that for a little while.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. It sounds, everything you've told me, everything I've seen, if they're into this type of steampunk, science fiction, any of that, this is for them.
Absolutely.
And your influences going with Jules Verne and H.G. Wells and the old, Flash Gordon and whoever. It's
those influences are worn on the sleeve. You can really feel it in the art for the whole thing.
I could just tell looking at what I'm seeing right now already, and I can see that in there. I loved, me personally, I love that stuff growing up.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know what else to say. It's just one of those. Sorry, what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, this is the kind of stuff that we want to do with the studio in general. There are a lot of other ideas brewing, but this is like the feel that we're trying to capture. I was talking with Ashley about that the other day, and I'm like, we need to make sure that like we're cohesive as a studio, not too many disparate ideas. Because I'm very guilty of that. I have ideas for like steampunk and science fiction stuff, and then I also have, here's this kids book concept, and it's like, well, they're both cool, but to stay focused, we want to ride out like that sort of mid-century nostalgia a little bit, because it's something that we still pull up old black and white movies and go, this isn't a fun way to spend the evening, just something classic. And didn't grow up exactly, but kind of did. I went hunting for those as a kid, so this is a bit of an homage to it, I suppose.
Yeah, no, and you know, like I said, you can see it. It's gorgeous stuff. I'm looking forward to it. It looks super fun, and that's what I look for in my comics. Is
Yeah.
are they fun? If they're not fun, I don't want to read them. You know, and you know, and this is nothing to knock any creator, because I said this on my Saturday stream. I reviewed a comic. I thought it was written well. I thought it was illustrated very well, but it had too much of realism in it for me, in the sense of language, sexual situation, and violence. Now, I'm the furthest thing from a prude, but when I read my comics, I want just fun. I don't want more of the reality.
Sure.
I would watch that as a movie or a TV series, you know, in a
Yeah,
heartbeat.
that's a fun distinction.
What?
That's an interesting distinction.
Yeah. And I just, but it's not what I want to escape to in the world of comics. And I think on TV or film, I think, but you know, there are a lot of great stuff out there. There's a lot of people who want that in their comics. I didn't, you know, I'm not knocking that comic at all. But personally, for me, it's not what I want to read in my comics. But I thought, like, I saw the setup of a really good story. I saw artwork that, man, I would love to look at more and more. But just the overall themes and stuff going on was not for me in my comic. And I don't know if that's in there. I don't knock comics for having it. I come from the oh God, why am I blanking on my words now? You know, suggest, not show background.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
I go, yeah. I go for show, don't tell.
So,
in other words, the visual storytelling. But
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anyway, I'm gonna send you backstage. I want to thank you for coming on. Let me just get on the right screen here.
For having me.
Oh, anytime. You honestly, you're welcome back anytime. You're fun to chat with. When your second Kickstarter goes up, definitely got to come back on to promote it.
Absolutely.
Anything else happening, like, just say, hey, can I come on and chat about stuff? I'm happy to bring you on. I had a lot of fun chatting with you.
Same. Very cool.
All right. Thanks again.
Yep. Good night.
Good night. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Definitely go check out the Instagram of Obscura Comics. I want to, before I forget, and I meant to do it in there. Here, I'm posting a link in the chat to the Kickstarter. Okay, so you guys, everyone, go to the Kickstarter when the show officially ends, and seriously, just check it out. Check out the fun. This looks like it's going to be a great story, great fun book. You know, make sure you donate. And in the meantime, you guys can check me out on all my social media. GetInToon.net on Facebook, Instagram. It's at Michael Gracia. Same thing on YouTube and Twitter, and ToonMaker76 on Twitch. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in again, and I will see you guys soon.